Hi, today we're going to take a look at the new Sigma 16mm f1.4 mirrorless lens. This is a new lens from their DN line and it's going to be very interesting to check out. So let's see what it can do. Today we have a chance to be one of the first websites in the world to test the new Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens for mirrorless cameras. This is part of Sigma's DN line and it comes in either an E-mount, APS-C or Micro Four Thirds mount. This is our third DN lens review here on LensVid and we were pretty impressed by the first two, which were great bang for the buck, especially the tiny and inexpensive 19mm f2.8 lens, and we're excited to see how this somewhat more ambitious 16mm f1.4 lens will perform. So let's start with the build quality and design. The build quality of the Sigma 16mm is very good, with a large part made from metal, and actually kind of surprising when you consider that this is a contemporary, not an art series lens. The design is super simple. It has no switches and only a single ring, which we shall discuss in a second. The lens isn't as compact as some of the other DN lenses that we have tested in the past, and at just over 10 centimeters or 4 inches, it definitely feels a bit longer than some other E-mount APS-C lenses, and it weighs 430 grams or just over 15 ounces, which also isn't on the super light side. As we have mentioned, the Sigma 16mm has a single ring for focusing, just like the 19 and 30mm Sigma lenses that we have tested for E-mount. This lens has a fly-by-wire style mechanism, which means that it has no hard lock when you turn it, and you basically turn it endlessly. We would actually prefer a more traditional mechanism, but we guess that it is simpler and less expensive to make this type of mechanism, and it seems to work fine. The lens comes with a small short plastic hood, but it seems to do the job, or at the very least gives some extra protection to the front element with its 67mm filter thread. So now let's look at the performance of this lens, and we can start with the autofocus. The lens seems to focus quickly and we didn't have any perceived problems with the focus speed or accuracy in stills mode. In video mode, the lens seems to function better than the two other Sigma E-mount lenses that we have tried, and can even be considered a potential lens for vlogging. That is, if you can carry it along with a camera body, a monitor and possibly an external microphone as well, which can easily get to over 1.5 kilograms or 3.3 pounds. Moving on to sharpness, this lens is extremely sharp. Impressively, the lens is super sharp in the center, even wide open, and you see very minimal gains when you close down to f4. In the corners, the image also seems to stay more or less as sharp from f1.4 onwards, but you do see a significant amount of boost in the brightness when you close down, at least with the vignette autocorrection set to off on our A6500. During our relatively short amount of time that we spent with this lens, we didn't see any significant chromatic aberration, and yes, we did turn off the chromatic aberration compensation on our A6500. When it comes to flaring, as with a lot of wide-angle lenses, you do get some flaring against bright light sources, even with the hood on, as you can see, but it isn't extremely strong from our testing. With our A6500 vignette autocorrection set to off, there seems to be very minimal darkening in the corners wide open, which completely disappears when you close down to around f2.8. This lens also has some barrel distortion, which again is quite typical for a wide-angle lens of this sort. Finally, despite the wide angle, this lens can create some very nice out-of-focus images, especially when shooting close objects with more distant backgrounds. As for the quality of the bokeh, you can judge for yourself. So let's conclude this quick review. It seems like Sigma has another E-mount winner on its hand with a 16mm f1.4. However, this time around, the original formula of high-quality, compact, inexpensive lenses has changed somewhat. Although we're still getting great bang for the buck in terms of image quality, the lens is a bit larger and heavier, and the pricing, while definitely not expensive for such a fast wide-angle lens, is still more expensive than any other DN lens Sigma has made to date. We discovered that this lens can be ideal for some specific types of food photography and videography, basically any type of photo or video which requires a wide fast-angle lens. This is a 24mm equivalent angle lens on a full frame, including vlogging, as we have mentioned. Finally, pricing. As we have stated above, this is currently the most expensive DN lens by Sigma, selling for around $450. The only similar lens that we know of is the Fujifilm 16mm f1.4, which costs exactly twice as much, so there is no way that you can truly call this lens expensive, relatively speaking. So that was our look at the Sigma 16mm f1.4 lens. You can check out the full review on lensvid.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.